Hey guys, Dr. Mark Supernaw, Family Healing Chiropractic. It is a beautiful Tuesday in Charlotte, North Carolina, in February. And today I want to talk about chronic pain. And I had a lady sit in here the other day, and it was just mind blowing to me that I was explaining my daughters to her. I told her I had four daughters, beautiful daughters, 22, 20, 17, and 14 years old. And it was amazing that she's sitting there saying to me, she goes, hey, she came with all this chronic pain that she'd been suffering from for a very, very long time. She's entering into her 60s. She's miserable right now, taking a lot of medication. She had a pile of medications that she brought with her to me so I could see it. And she just kind of like, I've just kind of realized at this point and stage of my life, she goes, there's nobody else around me that really cares more about my health than myself. And she goes, I realized that if I don't take care of my health, nobody else is going to care about it. And I said that to her. I said, gosh, if I could get that into parents and into adults, young adults, early on in life, that taking care of yourself is the best possible healthcare that you can have for the rest of your life. The investments that you make now will carry through with you forever. And so I told her about my four daughters and how they were all four born at home. They were adjusted from birth. We checked their spines. They're very blessed that both their parents are chiropractors, obviously. And what's amazing about these beautiful girls is that they've relatively lived their whole life without sickness and disease, without many big problems, no drugs, no surgeries. Their bodies just know what to do because we've taught them how to live a life to take care of their bodies, to take care of, really we talk about taking care of your mind. They're in church, they pray, they read scripture, they know that the things that come out of their mouth are just as damaging as the things that go into their mouth. And so we talked to them about nutrition. Like very early on, one of the stories I had with my girls is that I said to them, we drive by McDonald's. My daughters had never had McDonald's their whole life. We would make this throw up noise every time we'd pass by a McDonald's. I'd roll down the window so they could smell it, and I would always make this noise of like, blah, the throw up wrenching noise. And it was kind of a funny game that we played, but they've kind of been taught that early on, that stuff is garbage. And they're also taught that medicines are yucky, and that they were taught when they were younger that exercise and moving your body and making sure that we're not putting toxic chemicals in our body, those are all crucial things. But of course, most importantly, that the nerve system and the spine is working the way that God designed them. Their posture is important. Their nerve system, getting their spine checked on a regular basis. And these four beautiful daughters have had a relatively strong and healthy life, and they're going to continue to have that. The investment they've made in their first, 15 to 20 years is going to pay forward. As long as they keep doing it, it's going to keep paying even further forward. And I look at this lady and I said to her, listen, I am so sorry that nobody ever taught you how to take care of your posture, your spine, and your nerve system, but you're never too late. And so I saw the pain in her eyes, the struggle that she has right now, all the medicines, all the side effects of medications. She was even telling me, she's like, I know that this problem and this problem are from a side effect of this medication. And I said, but so many people get stuck in this world where they don't think there's any other way out. And so what I want to try to help you guys understand today is that there are other ways out. There's natural things, but you have to take responsibility for your own health. See, the thing is that in our country, that medical industrial complex is going to drive you into a world of wanting or staying in that model. They want to get you attached to insurance companies, and insurance companies, when they want to pay, they only pay for medical things. They want vaccines, they want medicines, they want this. They're all in cahoots together. You guys have seen that during COVID. You guys knew this. You guys know that all these companies were basically commingling. This medical industrial complex is in a position to make billions and trillions of dollars off of you being sick. And the thing that you can do to help yourself get out of that system is start to take responsibility. That, are there true genetic issues? Are there things that you're at a disadvantage? 100%. But the reality is that most things are lifestyle things. And even if you have a genetic predisposition, you can still lifestyle yourself to have the best life with that genetic predisposition. Just because your family had cancers and heart disease and diabetes doesn't mean that you have to. And so when you start to get into the mindset and believe that medical industrial complex, that yes, I'm going to get stuck in this model, what ends up happening is that you're going to give up. You're going to go eat the Taco Bells. You're going to go eat the garbage. You're going to go smoke what you want to smoke. You're going to not exercise because you're going to be like, what else could I do? I can't do anything anyway. So want to talk to you guys today about chronic pain and how big this problem is, that it's the most common and costly problems that we have in the United States right now. And so according to research by CDC and prevention, tens of millions of adults live with chronic pain every day. Chronic pain affects work, sleep, relationships, mood. That's probably the biggest thing I see, is that when people have chronic pain, they've kind of just come to a resolve that they're just kind of like, man, I guess this is just how I'm going to live for the rest of my life. And they might be moody. They might not be able to do the things that they want to do. They might not be able to go to the baseball game with their kids or grandkids. They just might not be able to do things. And billions of dollars are spent every single year on medications and procedures. And there's lost production that we have in our country because people have aches and pains. I mean, one of my good friends had a major disc issue in his back the last 3 weeks. And gosh, he's just like come to reality of like what this does for your lifestyle. Like, I'm not the best dad during this time. I'm not the best husband during this time. I'm not as productive at work because sometimes you're just survival mode because you're in this chronic pain on a regular basis. Chronic pain is not just physical. It changes how we live and how we see our future. So emotional lifestyle cost of chronic pain, people living with chronic pain, they have constant fatigue, they have anxiety flare-ups, their frustration and hopelessness, reduced activity, social withdrawal. They start scrolling more. They start eating crappier, their fear of movement and exercise. So over time, pain starts to shrink their life, and their life keeps shrinking and shrinking. And people stop planning. They stop trusting their bodies. They start managing their symptoms instead of fully living. And then when you start managing the systems with drugs and surgeries and all these other chemicals, what ends up happening is it ends up costing you long-term, physically, emotionally, and even financially and spiritually in some cases, because you can't do exactly what God's called you to do. You start to lose the focus of why God put you here in the first place. So what we do is we want to reframe chronic pain as a chronic adaptation problem. I love this concept here. Chronic pain doesn't mean that your body's weak or broken. Chronic pain means that your body's actually trying to adapt to stress. It is actually a good marker that your body still is alive. In fact, if you don't have the chronic pain, that means if your body's not it stops adapting, it means you're dead. So it's a good sign that you have these aches and pains. I hate it. I've been in chronic pain as well as before too, with my low back, with workouts and stuff like that. But the reality is that your body's been adapting to stress for a long time. And the stress comes in the form of physical, and chiropractic, we call it physical, chemical, and emotional stress. Physical stress are things like slips and falls, car accidents, sports, sitting at desks, scrolling on phones, looking down nonstop. Chemical stress is in the form of the chemicals that you're taking through medications or shots and vaccines, or chemically what we're being exposed to with our cleaning supplies, or the chemicals that are in our foods and the crap that they're putting in our foods, right? These are chemical stressors. And then of course there's emotional stress. I know probably none of you guys out there have emotional stress, but there's emotional stress that comes with this as well. And emotional stress is like, you ever see a kid that was yelled at when they were a kid, like, you're no good, you're never going to amount to any good, you're constantly talked down to. And what happens is that that's not good for your posture. It's not good for your confidence. And so when you have physical, chemical, emotional stress, the body tries to compensate and adapt to the stress, but when it's overwhelmed and it can't adapt to it anymore, that's a problem. The body has to do something about that stress. And that's why the body will start to adapt, but it becomes overwhelmed, overstressed, and then symptoms appear later in that process, not early in the process, but later in that process, those symptoms will start to show up later on down the road. So why the nerve system matters. The nerve system is the key. And this is where life is. So from the moment of conception, one of the things as the cells start to multiply and divide, one of the first organizations of any systems that you have in your body is the primitive notochord, which eventually turns into the brainstem, the spinal cord, and the brain itself. And so this nerve system is where life is. And when we have all living things that God created, they have this inborn intelligence, this inborn life. It's so fascinating, so amazing. And so you guys heard me say this before. It's like a plant. If you turn a plant away from the sun, it's going to try to turn its leaves back to the sun. Why? Because it wants to survive. If you don't water a plant, it's going to dig its roots deeper. Because why? Because it's trying to find water. It wants to survive. So our bodies are the same way. Our bodies want to survive and adapt and coordinate. And the nerve system is the major control system for those things. So inside here, the brain It has all the functions and coordination that you need. The brain coordinates how your hormones, how your immune system, how your reactions to stress, how your body's able to adapt and coordinate systems. When you get a cut on your arm, how to heal that. When you get a cold or you have something going on with your lungs, the body's coordinating this. Or you see a bear and your heart rate goes up and your blood pressure goes up because you need to run, or because your body needs to digest food, or you eat bad food and your body needs to get rid of food, whether it's through this way or the other way. So the nerve system is what controls and coordinates that. So the brain and spinal cord send messages down to the organ cells and tissues to tell it what's right or what's wrong. Then the body constantly gets feedback and sends messages back up to the brain to tell the brain, this is what I need help with. This is what I need. This is what I need to coordinate. So pain is often the result of poor coordination. It's not permanent injury. It's your body trying to say, I'm trying to coordinate and it's just not working right now. Covering pain might quiet the signal, but it doesn't restore communication. So what healing, in order for your body to truly heal, it needs to be able to heal from the inside out. Chiropractors have said this for years. The body needs to heal from the inside outward. That's how the body actually goes through its healing process. And so how chiropractic supports that healing? Because it focuses on restoring spinal movement. So we take posture, range of motion. We check your spine and nerve system through x-rays, exams, posture checkups, balance, computerized nerve scans, surface EMG. We do all these pieces of the puzzle because we want to see what is in the integrity of your nerve system. Is there a disruption of the mental impulses coming from your brain that's going down to your body to tell the body how to coordinate? Is there something that's messing up with that communication? And what chiropractic does is it finds that misalignment, that damage, that structural issue that's interfering with those mental impulses from your brain that's sending to your body to coordinate and heal and adapt, and it restores it. It restores spinal movement, improves your nervous system, and reduces long-term compensation, allows your body to adapt more effectively. And constantly say this, we move the bone, God does healing. I know some chiropractors love saying that. Some chiropractors get cringy. Some of my old teachers will be cringy about me saying that. But the reality is that we move the bone, God does healing. Your body does its own healing. And when I say God does healing, your body, God created your body does its own healing. That's how it was created. So chronic pain doesn't have to be a life sentence, but it's a sign that the body needs help supporting support and restoring its function and its coordination back again. That's how it works. And so I'm in another slide, the nerve system. Like I said, this is the most amazing thing in the whole wide world. The brain and spinal cord is what controls everything. So my first introduction to this was when I was a student at the University of Iowa. It was my third year of pre-med at University of Iowa. I had asthma and allergies really young, 7 years old, so bad that I had to get rushed to the hospital. My mom took me to the doctor and they gave me drugs and medications. Gave me an inhaler, sent home. But what they didn't tell us is that there's side effects to these medications, taking them long term. So the more I started using the inhaler, I started developing headaches when I was 12, 13 years old. Of course, when you have headaches at that age, mom takes me to the doctor. The doctor says, hey, just give him Tylenol and aspirin. He'll be fine. So I started taking tons of Tylenol and aspirin. In fact, my mom didn't even know this. I started taking more Tylenol and aspirin because just to put my football helmet on, I always got headaches during football. And I started taking so much of this stuff. I really, truly believe that it started eating a hole in my stomach. I started having stomach ulcers when I was 16, 17 years old. I still remember my mom taking me back to the doctor with ulcers, stomach ulcers, and the doctor's like, oh, just give him this ulcer medication, this antacid, this acid reflux medication. So I started taking the acid reflux medication. And what you don't know, or what you probably do know, is that, of course, you start to put another drug in your body. There's also side effects of that. It started causing digestive problems going into college. So I have these digestive problems. I'm taking 4 different medications. I'm taking over-the-counter medications, just trying to chase symptoms nonstop, constantly. My third year of pre-med at University of Iowa was going to become a physical therapist or a medical doctor. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to do pharmacy. A bunch of my friends went down the pharmacy pathway. And so my academic advisor one day was AWOL, was missing. And so they just handed me to some random lady. I don't think it was random. And this random lady comes in and she says, oh, tell me your story. So I tell her a little bit of my story. She goes, you should go see a chiropractor. Or maybe think about becoming a chiropractor too. And I said, why would I want to do that? Because, you're for third year pre-med, you've been taught that chiropractors are quacks, snake oil salesmen, blah, 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 And I kind of had this in my mind already because in 3 years pre-med, you've been taught this. You see it on the TV, you see it on the commercials, all this kind of stuff. You think like, well, the medical pathway is the way to go. And she says, listen, she goes, 99% of chiropractors work with neck pain and back pain. They're pretty good with it. But about 1% of chiropractors work with the healing power that God put inside your body. And that innate intelligence inside your body needs to be restored and needs to function so your body can heal itself. So this lady was super educated in chiropractic. And actually, I never went to see the chiropractor. I went to chiropractic school, that's where I got my first adjustment. When I started getting adjusted and getting my nerve system aligned, and they showed me through my exam and x-rays, I had postural deviations. I had massive forward head posture. And I also had a loss of curve in my neck, no curve in my neck at all. And so what happened is, because of those things, I had so much stress and pressure on my nerve system, my brain's trying to communicate through it and it just can't. Not at 100%, not the way it's supposed to coordinate to be able to adapt. And so I started getting adjusted by a student intern. And that student intern, and within about 3 weeks, I started noticing my headaches started reducing. Even I used to take medicine right before rugby practice because my headaches were so bad. I stopped taking my medicines. I stopped having to use my inhaler. And within about 4 months, I had come completely off all 4 of my medications, wasn't even putting over-the-counter Tylenol or aspirin in my body anymore. I was done. And I still, for the last 30 years, haven't put anything in my body except for full disclosure. I did take 2 Vicodin about 14 years ago when I ruptured my Achilles after the surgery. I needed some pain relief. I did some self-medication with some Tylenol. Full disclosure, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I hurt my back badly and I had to travel to Arizona on a plane. And I wasn't going to get on the plane if I didn't numb the pain for some reason. So there's time and a place. But if you want to truly be strong and want to be truly healthy, you've got to look to the core of the body, the nerve system, for the body to be able to function and heal and do what it's supposed to do. So if you guys have any questions, feel free, jump in here in the chats, ask questions here. I look at this stuff all the time. I'll answer questions. If you have any questions or comments or statements, put them in here or call us. The number's down below. You can go to our website and self-schedule. Love to see if we can help any of you guys out there. If you have any questions, give me a holler. Love you guys. Have a blessed day.